Aren't you, Paul? What's up?
Oh, congratulations on your occasion.
Thanks, but more importantly, it's my wedding day today, and I didn't invite you. Oh, right. Sorry. You must be cleaning here or something, right? My bad. Didn't mean to bother you during work.
It's fine, we're classmates, aren't we?
Hey, man, it's my wedding day. Never thought I'd run into you cleaning here, looking so miserable. Life's cruel, huh? Like heaven and hell.
Isn't it about time?
Yeah, sorry. My bad for making you feel miserable. Take care, and good luck with the cleaning.
My classmate, Marcus Brown, said that, and then left with a burst of laughter. I watched his retreating figure, feeling a deep contempt for him as he said such things on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Little did I know that I was about to be shaken by a shocking truth. My name is Paul. I'm 32 years old. My dad's business went belly up, and we became poor when I was just 12. My mom started working part-time, and my dad filed for bankruptcy. Despite having lived a carefree life as a wealthy man's son, I suddenly found myself struggling to get by day to day. When I got to middle school, while my friends were buying games and enjoying extracurricular activities, I spent my time reading books at the library after school. I had dreams of joining the baseball or soccer team, but I couldn't afford the gear or uniforms. I was embarrassed by my simple sack lunches, so I ate them in the corner of the classroom, hiding the contents of my lunch. Seeing me like this, Marcus Brown, who had been with me since elementary school, started bullying me. Knowing my once affluent background, it seemed he found delight in my sudden downfall and shabbiness. Moreover, he was inwardly jealous of me. He enjoyed seeing me, once excelling in academics and sports and popular with the girls, become poor and decline, mocking me relentlessly.
Hey Paul, what's with your shabby lunch again today?
I ignored Marcus, who repeated the same taunts every day. It was endless. But my unresponsive demeanor only frustrated him more, and the bullying escalated. He filled my shoes with sand, vandalized my desk, and one day, I found flowers on my desk like in some school drama cliché. At first, the class seemed to despise Marcus, but gradually they started finding it amusing and joined in the bullying, increasing the number of tormentors.
Hey, poor guy.
Even those I had never really interacted with or barely knew started joining in, making me the target of typical middle school ridicule. There were countless incidents I remember. In the class, they threw away my stationery, made comments like something smells, maybe someone here doesn't have money and hasn't showered, and caused a big commotion. It was a mess. But I endured it. My parents were already struggling, and I didn't want to bring the problem of being bullied at school into our home. Besides, I kind of knew from reading books at the library that bullying doesn't last forever. It was just a phase. Once I graduated and entered the wider world, things like this would disappear. So, I focused on my studies, aiming to attend a prestigious college and land a good job to help my parents out. My support during those tough days was a girl who, like me, always sat alone in the library reading books. I wasn't interested in romance, and at first, I didn't notice her, but her name was always on the library card of the books I borrowed, so eventually, I couldn't help but become aware of her. She was named Rachel Johnson. Her name was impressive, so I remembered it quickly. Eventually, we noticed each other, borrowing the same kinds of books, wondering who would get them first, and gradually, we started exchanging a few words. She was the first to speak up.
You always borrow the same books as me, don't you?
Yo, I guess.
Hey,
Yo.
why do you always endure it? You should just fight back.
I was surprised to hear her say that. Actually, I was embarrassed. She fully knew I was being bullied.
Yo, but not everything has to be confronted, right? Ignoring it, the days just pass by.
Oh, you're quite philosophical.
Well, most books say that, don't they?
True that.
That's how she and I became friends. Though we didn't start dating, we began to walk to and from school together and talked about books in the library. Her presence was a great support for me. Honestly, being bullied or treated like a pariah, she was my only solace. And so, my middle school life continued, enduring the malicious group led by Marcus and those who joined in the harassment. But then, the worst thing happened. It became known that I was friendly with Rachel, and I became a target for their mockery.
Hey man, so you're poor and now flirting with a girl. Are you kidding me? You're acting all high and mighty. What a joke.
I remained silent. I thought getting angry would only bring her harm. But as I feared, it happened. Marcus started to bully, or rather mock, Rachel as well.
Hey Rachel, you like that poor? Oh, sorry, I meant Paul. Poor and Paul, they sound similar, my bad.
But she was tough, and talked back to Marcus.
Stop it, you guys are shameful. Even elementary kids don't bully.
Oh, what? Well, Rachel, I thought you were just a quiet, plain girl, but you're actually pretty annoying, huh? You guys are a perfect match.
Do you actually enjoy saying that? Doesn't it feel empty?
But as she retorted, Marcus and his cronies surrounded her. Smirking and peering into her face, she was clearly uncomfortable and creeped out. Watching this, I was about to lose my temper. I thought any guy who bullies a girl, especially as a man, is less than a worm. But I knew if I confronted Marcus or got angry, it would just escalate things. I feared she would become an even bigger target, so I held back. And then, heartbreakingly, I began to avoid her. The reason was simple. I didn't want to drag her into this mess. Thus, my only solace, our friendship, ended. And I returned to my lonely life. But I thought it was necessary. Succeeding, not breaking down here, I believed was the best revenge. I passed the entrance exam for a prestigious high school. My parents were happy, and I felt relieved, thinking I was finally free from my hellish life. But worst of all, Marcus had also passed for that high school.
Hey, you're going to high school. I thought you'd drop out.
But thankfully, by high school, there were no more childish people willing to join Marcus in bullying me. Sometimes Marcus would glare at me as we passed in the hallway, but that was nothing compared to the bullying in middle school. I worked hard, studying relentlessly, and eventually became the top student in school. Being number one in a competitive high school almost guaranteed a bright future. Marcus tried hard too, but his frivolous nature and hanging out with girls from other schools seemed to hinder his academic progress. I kept my focus, ignoring Marcus and doing what I needed to do. However, tragedy struck during my senior year of high school. My mom, overworked, fell ill and couldn't continue her part-time job. Our household budget, already stretched to the limit with penny pinching, became even tighter.
I'm sorry.
Don't be silly. It's not your fault, Mom. I'll work. So, I started working at a bakery after school in my senior spring. And also delivering newspapers in the morning. Of course, there was no time for sleep, let alone study. My grades plummeted from being the top student. My dad had shut down completely since then, occasionally taking day labor but mostly coming home with cheap alcohol to drown his sorrows. Regrettably, I had to give up the dream I had envisioned for the future. There was no way I could afford college. And now, I was the only one who could earn a decent income for the family. Driven into a corner, I gave up on further education and study, working desperately instead. I used to sleep during class. Actually, the morning paper route and evening bakery shift weren't enough, so I started doing piecework, like sticking labels, at home. Otherwise, we couldn't afford food or even pay the utility bills. I experienced a second downfall in life. Then, that guy Marcus came around again, seeming pleased to look down on me.
Fate can be cruel, huh?
Yeah, it can.
I think you were born under an unlucky star. But hey, give up, man. Maybe there's something good in store for you.
Marcus's sneering back was infuriating, but there was nothing I could do. Upon my high school graduation, I landed a job at a local factory line. Rumors said Marcus easily went on to college. There's a saying about parent lottery, and I guess I lost in that regard. But I hated to describe my dear parents with such a frivolous term. This was my fate, and I decided to accept it. And so, the days working in the factory just went on in a routine manner. Working at the factory, life became more manageable than juggling part-time jobs as a student. My parents, feeling guilty about me giving up college to work, became more united as a family. Especially my dad changed, quitting alcohol and saying, drowning in booze to escape reality gets us nowhere, and he started working in physical labor too. Thus, our family of 3 continued to support each other. Then one day, a letter arrived. Wait! The moment I touched that cute floral envelope, I knew who it was from. The handwriting was familiar. The sender was Rachel Johnson, my only friend from middle school.
Are you doing well? I've heard a lot has happened since then. But I believe you're doing your best. If it's okay with you, could we meet and talk sometime? We're like people from the past, aren't we? Not using WhatsApp or Instagram, but communicating through physical letters. But that's the only way I could find out about you, through the alumni directory.
Tears welled up as I quickly wrote back. Thank you. I do have a cell phone, though. I'll be waiting for your contact. And so, we reconnected through our phones and arranged to meet. When she showed up, she had transformed into a beautiful woman. We were both 20 years old.
Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. How have you been? That's when I noticed the quality of her dress and her upscale bag. Honestly, I have a keen eye for such things, probably because of my mom. After my dad went bankrupt, she had to sell most of her clothes and bags. but what Rachel had reminded me of the things my mom used to own. I wonder if she comes from a wealthy family, I thought. But regardless, I was just so happy to see her again. And it seemed she felt the same. Thus, we started to keep in touch again. Soon after, we fell in love with each other.
I feel like we're meant to be together.
I wanted to say that first.
Oh, sorry, I'll take it back.
No, it's fine, so let me ask properly. Will you go out with me? That's how we started dating. And I realized my hunch was right. She was indeed the only daughter of a well-known luxury hotel in our area. That's impressive, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's why I felt somewhat avoided in middle school, being the rich girl and all. That's why I was always alone.
I see.
The only friend I had during that time was you, Paul. Despite his interference.
He was, unmistakably, Marcus. According to her, he had ended up attending a private university in the city.
It's a relief he's gone from our hometown.
Indeed. We continued our healthy relationship for several years and got married as we both turned 30. As the Johnson family had only one child, Rachel, and no one to inherit the hotel, I needed to succeed the hotel business. But if it meant I could be with a woman I love and become part of her family, it wasn't a big deal. Thus, I entered the Johnson family, becoming the next president of the renowned hotel in our hometown. Some might call it marrying into wealth, but I never felt that way. I just really loved Rachel. Working at the hotel involved a variety of tasks. It wasn't just sitting in an office and stamping documents like in a regular corporation. I did everything from menial tasks to organizing events. If there was a politician's party, I helped set it up and served drinks with the staff. And if a cleaner was ill, I took the initiative to do the cleaning myself. I managed events, proposed dinner shows, mediated disputes among housekeeping staff. I did it all. In doing so, I wanted to prove that marrying the hotel owner's daughter didn't mean I was incapable. I earned the respect of all employees and my father-in-law. 2 years into working hard, an impactful event occurred. That day, we had a booking for a wedding and reception. It was for a marriage between a well-known businessman and a local TV station's female anchor. The banquet hall was vast, indicating a grand affair. So I knew I had to help. I also had a fan's desire to greet the anchor, who always appeared so polished on the news. The reservation was under the surname Brown. Though I had a bit of an allergy to that name, it was common enough not to worry about. The plan was for an extravagantly lavish wedding, with the highest quality food courses and decorations ordered from renowned city florists.
We might have a problem here. Our staff alone might not be enough.
Right. Let's call in some extra help. Thus, the wedding, costing about $100,000, was methodically prepared. For our hotel, this was a financial loss in terms of labor costs, but with such a large gathering and the rarity of such flamboyant events recently, we expected the guests would enjoy it immensely. The preparations with the bride and groom were progressing, but reports came in that they were incredibly demanding and difficult to please. The demands were endless, from changing the pre-decided attire because it didn't feel right, to asking if we could arrange the sound system for a guest singer they wanted to invite. Frankly, some staff members were fed up, saying, "We've had enough." But I was encouraging the staff to give their best for the hotel. Well, it's not just the bride and groom at this wedding, but also local dignitaries as guests, right? Let's think of them and give it our all. The hotel had faced tough times due to the entry of foreign hotels and epidemics, but we pulled through by sticking together. So we rallied once more. Then the big day arrived. The hotel was decked out in glittering decorations, and luxury cars arrived one after another from the morning. All of us employees worked desperately. Everything was going well. But in the midst of it all, a part-time girl we hired for help made a mistake, possibly due to her nerves. She stumbled while moving a large wedding cake with an experienced employee, causing it to sway dangerously. And, of all things, the cake ended up being destroyed. The girl, with her face turning pale, apologized, "I'm so sorry," and then ran off crying somewhere. There were only 2 hours left until the wedding. And we had 3 hours until the cake was needed. I immediately instructed the staff to clean up and called the bakery, hoping to somehow get a wedding cake ready in time. "Hello, I'm really sorry to ask this, but is there any way you could prepare a wedding cake within 3 hours?
3 hours?
It was indeed a tall order to prepare a giant wedding cake in 3 hours. However, our hotel and the bakery had an inseparable relationship, with us ordering many desserts from them, so the owner said, "We'll manage something." We had to deal with these last-minute issues. I immediately went back to where the cake had collapsed. I fetched a cleaning uniform from the back, thinking we needed to erase all evidence of the incident. "I'll handle this. Everyone else, please return to your posts."
Okay, understood.
All staff except the girl who had run off crying were experienced restaurant servers. I thought it wasn't right to have them clean up the cake mess. After cleaning up most of it, I still meticulously wiped every trace of cream, believing no remnants should be left. While answering various wedding-related questions over the wireless headset, I polished the floors, desperate to ensure the ceremony went off without a hitch.
Hey, aren't you?
I turned around to find that Marcus was there. That unforgettable, unpleasant face. He seemed a bit better than before, but his condescending attitude and way of speaking hadn't changed.
Oh, sorry for interrupting your work. You're cleaning, huh? That stuff. You know, I'm getting married here today.
Is that so? Congratulations. I responded calmly. But Marcus didn't stop.
I wondered what happened to you. Occasionally, it crossed my mind, you know, how a top student like you couldn't go to college because of no money. It's quite a tragedy, isn't it?
I continued to clean the hallway in silence. Over the wireless headset, I heard, "Paul, a politician has arrived," among other inquiries from the staff. "Sure, guide them to the grand ballroom," I responded, not fully paying attention to what Marcus was saying. This seemed to annoy him, and he snapped, "Are you even listening, you high school dropout, poor guy? You're cleaning here today, aren't you? All thanks to my wedding, right?" "Yeah, that's right."
How much do you make per day? Around $60. Lucky you. You'll be eating well with that this week, huh?
I knew I couldn't afford to argue here. Time was of the essence. So, I just stayed silent and listened.
Well, life stuff, you know. I sympathize. Maybe someday you'll get married too. In a few decades, perhaps. When that time comes, make sure to invite me to the wedding.
Got it.
Oh, are you off to clean the toilets now? There'll be a lot of drinkers today, so give it your best shot.
In saying so, Marcus strolled casually toward the groom's waiting room. He was shaking his shoulders and laughing heartily, genuinely enjoying himself. It was pitiful to see him still saying such things to me on his wedding day, showing no signs of growth whatsoever. But it couldn't be helped. Changing others was difficult, so I knew I had to change myself. Just like I always had, I dealt with him calmly today as well. There was no point in arguing back with someone like him. I'd known that since middle school. And after a while, the hallway, which had finally been cleaned up after the cake fell and made a mess, looked presentable. Although we'll call in the professionals for a thorough cleaning later, we'll manage with this for today. Thinking so, I changed out of my cleaning clothes and into my usual suit. Then, with a Royal Metropolitan Hotel name tag into my lapel, I confidently returned to the venue. Today's guests included local corporate executives and politicians. As the bride is a local TV announcer, sponsor companies that produce TV commercials are invited. I greeted those distinguished individuals. Then, those who have always used our place for parties and Christmas gatherings also returned my greetings. Thank you very much for always taking care of us.
Thank you for the other day.
Oh, no worries. Please continue to support us in the future. Since I thoroughly reviewed the service since I took over, our evaluation has skyrocketed. Anyway, it's important to treat everyone politely without changing attitude based on the customer. Even if we're busy, we must respond with a smile. If there's any dissatisfaction or concerns, they should come and tell me anything, even if it shows on their faces. We've been working hard to earn the trust of our employees and improve customer service. So even today, no matter who the guest was, even if it was Marcus himself, I was determined to give it my all in hospitality. After all, regardless of who they are, weddings are a joyous occasion. All right, everyone, let's do our best today. Counting on you all.
Yes.
With this, just before the main event, the staff rallied themselves. However, once the wedding started, as expected, there were complaints from the bride and groom about things being different from what they expected on the day, such as the hair and makeup not being done well, causing a ruckus. But the staff worked to calm them down and focused on making this day a success. And finally, the bride and groom finished changing and were ready to head to the chapel. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, as this moment had finally arrived. However, at that moment, an unbelievable incident occurred.
Hey, why are you standing there, Paul?
Surprisingly, at the crucial moment of the bride and groom's entrance, he spotted me standing in my suit and came over to talk to me. Deep down, I thought it definitely wasn't the right time for something like that, but I stayed silent and responded just with a smile. Then, Marcus seemed to interpret my attitude as disrespectful, and he got furious and started complaining.
Hey, what's going on in this hotel? Why is a high school graduate janitor sneaking into the venue? Can someone kick him out?
Everyone was silent, taken aback by his words. But Marcus didn't stop.
Hey, who do you think I am? I'm Marcus from Starlight Trading. Today, we're having such a grand wedding in this first-class hotel with a luxurious plan. Why is a janitor mixed in here?
I discreetly stopped an employee who was about to address him.
Hey, go get the manager of this place.
Marcus was menacing towards me.
Why is a high school dropout working here at the venue? Could I speak with the manager for an explanation?
I noticed the stunned looks around me and finally decided to tell the truth. It's me.
What?
I'm the manager of this hotel.
You're kidding, right?
Right there, Marcus grabbed me by the collar. Then, from behind, a voice with authority said, "Excuse me, sir. The president of this hotel, President Johnson, is my father-in-law." Rachel was also standing next to him, wearing a beautiful dress. When Marcus saw my father-in-law, he seemed to only understand that the person in charge of this hotel had arrived. Excuse me. What's going on with your hotel? How come a suspicious person is sneaking in like this? What about the security?
When you say a suspicious person,
It's him. Paul, the high school graduate. Why is a temp janitor here at the venue? It's ruining the wedding. Can we get a refund with responsibility?
The bride, who was also a TV announcer, seemed visibly flustered. Apparently, she looked like a dignified woman on TV, but she must have been embarrassed to have such a commotion on her wedding day. However, the president responded calmly.
excuse me, sir. Did any of our executives do something disrespectful to you?
What?
Did something disrespectful happen?
Disrespectful? Well, let me tell you then. With my connections and my wife's network, we've gathered such distinguished members for this wedding. Why is this guy here? Just his presence alone is disrespectful.
His words echoed in the now silent venue, and everyone looked bewildered. The so-called distinguished members mentioned by Marcus had heard his outburst. Then President Johnson said, "I see, we are sorry about that. Let's have him step away for a moment." He signaled me with his eyes. So, I ended up leaving Marcus's wedding venue. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. He seemed to be more upset. From there, it seemed like chaos ensued. Apparently, Marcus went berserk when he found out that I'm marrying the heiress of the Royal Metropolitan Hotel and the future president of this hotel. He was heard shouting, "Why the heck? He's just a high school graduate, poor guy." Furthermore, the presidents of his company's business partners completely witnessed Marcus's vulgar and discriminatory remarks. Among them, what stood out was when the president of his company said, "I'm sorry, but I'll take my leave first," and actually got up from his seat and left the venue. After the president left, naturally, the beg shots like executives and other important people followed suit. At that point, Marcus completely realized the cold glares around him, but it was already too late. The front row table seats are now empty. The MC, who was a colleague of the bride and also a TV announcer, awkwardly tried to proceed with a wedding and somehow manage the situation, but guests kept leaving one after another in a hurry. Gradually, those who had come to exchange greetings at the venue rather than for the wedding itself lost their purpose. It was as if they were saying there was no point in being here anymore, yawning or getting up to smoke cigarettes. One by one, people left the venue, some saying they just needed to make a quick call but never returning. The wedding was a major failure. In the end, only the staff and a few of Marcus's cronies were left in the venue.
Hey, what's going on here?
Well, you see, I'm not quite sure myself.
What on earth are you talking about to Paul, the vice president?
The Vice President Paul? You mean that Paul?
Listen, you know how much our station anchor has been involved in hosting weddings at this hotel. When guests come from the city, we rely on them for everything.
I know that.
And yet, why are you hurling insults at Paul, who is the future president of the hotel? It's unbelievable. How old are you anyway? You're not a child.
Well, I didn't know.
Not knowing is no excuse. Look, all the sponsor companies we've been so grateful to have, they've all left.
The venue was enveloped in a gloomy and awkward atmosphere.
What are we going to do?
What should we do?
Then, unexpectedly, he started sobbing. It seems that until now, he had been pretending to be a good son of a respectable family and had been wearing a mask, but his true nature shocked both his wife and her parents. You shouldn't marry someone like him. Fortunately, we haven't signed the papers yet, so the marriage is off. So in the end, they broke up. And it got even worse. With the marriage broken off and rumors spreading about his rampage at the wedding venue, Marcus was asked by his business partners to change his responsibilities one after another. Eventually, he felt uncomfortable at the company and ended up resigning on his own. Marcus, who had persistently bullied me and made sarcastic remarks, ended up losing many things he had worked so hard to build up in his life. To me, it seems nothing but foolish. But he brought it upon himself. Thus, this incident at the hotel became an episode that would be talked about for a long time. I once again wished to live a clean and righteous life. One day, while discussing the lobby renovation in the lounge with contractors, I noticed a man sitting alone, hunched over, in the corner of my eye. It was 2 p.m. on a weekday, a time when the clientele usually consisted of women or business-like individuals. The man, wearing a worn-out hoodie, jeans, with unkempt hair and an unshaven beard, stood out. However, without paying much attention, I continued the conversation, until the man suddenly turned to look in our direction. Our eyes met, and I stared at him intently. He returned the gaze with a resentful expression. To my surprise, it was Marcus, completely transformed. Though I had heard he had lost everything since then, the drastic change in appearance in just a few months was astonishing. I couldn't just leave the guy staring at me like that, so I said, "Excuse me for a moment," and ended the meeting to sit at his table. "What's wrong?" I asked. Marcus seemed unsure of why he had come himself, stuttering. He didn't seem to come to apologize or cause a scene. Perhaps he just returned to this place where he had lost everything. I sat there for about 5 minutes, but since Marcus remained silent with his head down, I decided it was a waste of time to stay and got up. "Sorry, I'm a bit busy, so I'm out." Then, as a last word, Marcus squeezed out, "Could you cover the cost of this coffee?" while trembling. I left without a word, holding the leather bill holder, and just said, "Give it your all." Marcus looked like he was about to burst into tears, but I knew I wouldn't see that face again.